This is New York's Country 94.7.
Hey, it's Katie Neal from New York's Country 94.7 hanging out in studio today with rising artist Alana Springsteen. Thank you so much for coming to see us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
So you just played your first show in New York at Rockwood the other night. How'd that go?
I did. It was incredible. I mean, playing New York has been on the bucket list for a long time. So we had to make it happen, and we had to spend a couple days and just get the feel for New York, and I absolutely love it. It was incredible.
Playing places like Rockwood and Mercury, those are like total rites of passage.
Oh my gosh.
It's great that you're playing those now. Just talk a little bit about, because we're really excited to get to know you, just a little bit how your career in music got started.
Absolutely. So I have been loving music for honestly forever. I'm originally from Virginia Beach, and both my granddads are pastors. So I grew up kind of singing in church. Just that was my first love. I picked up the guitar for the first time when I was 7, and was instantly gravitated toward that. And I started writing my own songs when I was 9. Like, I've always been in love with words and telling stories, but when I put the two together, it was like a light bulb went off, and I knew it was going to be something I did for forever. So I wanted to get out and perform anywhere I possibly could. So at the time, that was like national anthems. So I got to perform for my local baseball team, the Tides, which was super fun. And once you start performing, it's like you get the bug, and you can't go back, honestly. Yeah. So we got to do a lot of anthems. I got to sing at Wrigley Field for the Chicago Cubs when I was 9.
Which is incredible.
Insane. Like, you can imagine how amazing that experience was. And just growing up, I looked up to so many artists and heard about them going to Nashville and, like, getting discovered. So I convinced my parents to go to Nashville with me when I was 10 years old for the first time. Went there and realized co-writing was a thing. And I never heard of it before, didn't know about it. But once I started, it was just the coolest experience, putting like several minds together and creating something totally unique. And I just started going there quarterly. We would go in for about a week. I would write, I would meet people, kind of learn about the industry. And when I was 14 years old, I got offered my first publishing deal with Still Working Music and BMG. And we moved up there. Me and my whole family moved up there so I could do it. And wrote with them for about 4 years. And honestly just cut my teeth and got to write with some of the best writers in town and learn from them. And realize, like, you have to have a voice as an artist. There's a lot of people trying to do it, but you have to have something that sets you apart. You have to have something to say. And once I figured that out, found my story to tell, I signed a development deal about a year ago, back in November of last year, with Warehouse West. And we got to work because I'd had so many songs that I'd written over the years, and I wanted to just release them. I felt like it was time. So we put together an EP with 5 songs on it, and I got to work with Luke Wooten as my producer. He's a dream, honestly. He's worked with Brad Paisley, Dierks Bentley, like so many of of these iconic country stars. So it was a dream for me. And we released my first EP ever in May of this year. So it's so cool to have music in the world and have so much support from radio stations and Spotify and Apple. So you can hear my music anywhere you listen to music. Check it out.
That's so awesome. I'm so excited to see things going so well for you. And like you said, you just released your first EP.
I did.
You also have a new song out called Feel Better. Talk about that song, because I feel like that comes from a really vulnerable place in a breakup, and it's such a good song.
Thank you so much. So I wrote that song probably 6 months ago. So I wrote it with 2 of my best friends in town, Jacob Noe, Maddie Rodriguez. I adore them, and I write with them so much. So I know every time I go in there, I'm just going to unload all of this personal stuff to them.
It's like a therapy session.
It literally is. So I've been going through this breakup at the time, and it sucks, as we all know, but it is great song material. So I at least got 30 good songs out of it, probably. So I'll take it. But I went in that day, and I remember just at that time, you hear so many songs talking about breakups, like, I'm going to get over this, like, I'm going to find somebody new, get past this, like, I can't wait to move on. But for me at the time, I just felt like I don't really want to feel better. I don't want to move on, because that means there's no chance of us getting back together. Like, once it's done, it's done. And I never really heard a song say it like that before. So I went in with that idea, and honestly, again, therapy session, just unloaded just the story. And we came up with a melody that I felt like really worked. And as soon as we wrote the song, I was just like, guys, we got to release this. I played it at my EP release show for the previous EP, and everyone there just like loved it. So we knew it was magic and got in the studio. Really wanted to keep the production simple, you know, because the demo we made that day was just like a guitar and my vocals. So I was like, there's something magical about this. I don't want to lose it. So we just added a few things and just released it. And I hope the lyric speaks to you guys and just like, you know, makes you feel understood. So
absolutely. Yeah. No, it's really interesting. Like you said, it comes from a place of like, you don't hear a lot of breakup songs. They're like, no, I want to stay here. I want to wallow a little bit longer because then it's still
depressing,
a thing.
but it's real.
But it's so true. So you've been out on tour with Fillmore. How's that been? What do you feel like you've learned being on tour with him?
Honestly, just watching him every single night, I feel like something new. And it's honestly the best way to learn is just to get out and do it, and also to watch other people who are so like, who you look up to in that aspect. And he's been on tour for so many years, so he's got a ton of experience. And he actually, like, we met organically just in town. He loved my music, came out to my EP release show and was like, hey, I want you to be a part of this. So I've been on tour with him throughout the summer, and I've got a couple more dates with him this fall. I'm playing in Buffalo, New York, and Burlington, Vermont, actually on this tour run before we go back home. So I am super excited. He and his whole crew, they're just the most amazing people too to hang out with and get to work with. So
you've had such a busy 2019. You actually had a birthday not that
long
ago. Happy belated.
Thank you.
You got your EP out. So what is your big goal then for 2020?
Honestly, to release more music and continue to tour. I think like getting out, getting my feet wet with touring. I love getting to meet the fans. I love playing more live. Just to be on tour with some other artists that I look up to would be incredible. And get my music out to as many of you guys as possible, just so you guys can hear it, and just keep trucking.
On average, how many times a week would you say that someone asks you if you're related to Bruce Springsteen? Like over under, like 10 times, 20 times a week?
You know, I was sitting here like, are we really going to get through this interview without bringing it up? No.
Well, the thing is like you're in New York. Like this is like Bruce's town, so I cannot ask because I'm sure people will be like, wait, is that his niece? Is it not? I'm sorry, I know you deal with that like your whole
honestly,
life, probably.
Probably at least 5 times a week I get asked that. And
but do you ever use it to your advantage, like to get out of anything or get into anywhere?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's so funny. Like when you type in on Instagram my name, the first thing that comes up is Alana Springsteen's dad, because people Google it and they want to figure it out. And then people will have like, they'll have like conversations on my YouTube videos like, oh, this is Bruce Springsteen's daughter, so cool. And somebody's like, no, she's not. And they'll go back and forth.
Gosh.
And I'm like, just let it happen. But I actually found out a couple months ago that we are related, but it's pretty distant. Like,
did you get on Ancestry.com? You're like, I'm going to find the connection.
Yeah, I mean, with a last name like that, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
But he's like my sixth cousin. But, you know, when I tell people, I just leave out that detail. I'm like, yeah, we're related.
It doesn't matter twice removed or how many times. But, well, that's incredible. We're so excited for you and all the big things that you have coming. And we can't wait to see what you do in 2020. And we hope you'll come back and see us soon.
Oh, my gosh. Can't wait. Thanks, girl. Thanks, guys.